Continuing the process of unpacking the MYP Unit Planner, this video describes what to include in the subject group objectives and summative assessment sections. The selection of the subject group objectives is a critical part of the unit planning process. The objectives for each subject group define what students will be able to accomplish as a result of studying the subject. As such, this choice is reflected in the unit's summative assessment, content, learning experiences, and formative assessment tasks. The specific expectations for each objective are described through a number of strands, and both the objective and the strands addressed in a unit should be clearly identified. Continuing with the MYP Year 1 Design unit referred to in the previous videos, let's say that the unit is intended to develop and assess a complete design project. As this type of design task needs to include all strands of all 4 criteria, the corresponding objectives from the appropriate year level should be identified. Remember, the objectives and objective strands you identify in this section of the unit plan will match the criteria and criteria strands that are used to assess the summative task. In the MYP, a summative performance of understanding involves students demonstrating their disciplinary knowledge, understanding, skills, and transferable conceptual understanding in an authentic way. For example, in this sample design unit task, students might participate in a school greenification project. This type of task could involve students in developing plans and constructing vertical gardens for the exterior of the school building. The description of the task should include its title and an outline which includes a clear description of what students will do in the task and clarification of the criteria and strands that will be used to assess each part of the task. Additional task details might be identified here or in a separate task sheet that is provided to students. These details might include specific requirements or instructions for the task, definitions of command terms, or due date reminders. In some subjects, when multiple criteria are used for assessment in a unit, the nature of the criteria may require more than one type of summative task. An example of this could be in sciences. In this subject, one way in which criterion A might be assessed is through an exam. It is important to note that in order for an exam to be a performance of understanding, it needs to go beyond recall of unit content and include opportunities for students to apply their knowledge in a range of authentic scenarios. Another type of summative task might be a hands-on investigation, in which students conduct a practical lab and collect, transform, and evaluate data, assessed with criteria B and C. And finally, criterion D might be used to assess a paper that explores an authentic scientific issue. In such a case, a brief description of each task can be provided. The description of each summative task also needs to identify how the task allows students to demonstrate their understanding of the statement of inquiry. It may be helpful to color code the concepts and the global context exploration wherever they appear throughout the unit plan. This can help you visualize how these elements are supported throughout the unit. Just as you will keep the statement of inquiry in mind, you will also need to refer to the summative task as other parts of the unit are developed. Which approaches to learning skills would help students succeed in the unit's task or tasks? What content will help students build a base of disciplinary knowledge, understanding, and skills needed to successfully complete the summative task? How can the learning process be developed to support achievement in the summative task? What formative assessment tasks can be used to provide students with feedback on their progress as they prepare for the summative task? How will the content, learning process, and task be differentiated to allow for a range of entry points into the summative task? In the next video in this series, we will consider the approaches to learning and content sections of the unit plan.